You know, for someone who's never seen an episode of Saturday Night Live, I've been weirdly excited to see this movie. I'm a fan of some of the actors in it, I'm a fan of some of the actors being depicted in it, and the trailer gave me the same chaotic vibe as The Bear, which I watched last year and really enjoyed. Plus, my Cineworld Unlimited screening of this was on January 11th, which this year marks a whole decade since my first proper YouTube video. So it was a rather special day, and I'd hoped I'd be ending it with a rather special movie. And because SNL isn't really a big deal here in the UK, I mean if it weren't for Third Rock from the Sun I wouldn't know who any of the women in this movie were, I was also curious going in about how this would play to a British audience and whether or not a lack of proper knowledge of the show would be a deal breaker. And for the most part, I'd say this does play well as a standalone piece about backstage mayhem. If anything, a lot of the references being thrown at you in the early scenes adds to the sense of chaos because they feel so random to everyone but Lorne Michaels, who can't even properly articulate what it all is. With that said, there are a couple parts later on which halt the story just to reenact a sketch, and I didn't find those parts terribly interesting. And that does lead me to my biggest criticism of the film. For as much as this wants to have a ticking clock element, it lacks momentum in the back half. As much as the Willem Dafoe bits try to convey this, you don't properly get the sense they're severely unprepared for the imminent show, especially when Lorne goes to a nearby bar to decompress with 20 minutes until air. So it does lack the tension it's going for, but what it does capture very effectively is the frantic energy of having to juggle a million moving parts. This is thanks to the camera work, how quickly the viewer gets to understand the layout of the studio and where everything is, a great score which I'm surprised didn't make the Oscars shortlist, it adds a lot of atmosphere to the film, and most of all, the performances. For the people I recognized, their spirit and unique charm were evoked wonderfully. Of all of them, I actually think Billy Crystal might have been the most uncanny, and I found those who aren't well-known figures here in the UK like Gilda and Garrett to be very arresting presences as well. Others like Cooper Hoffman and J.K. Simmons were great. I snorted out loud at some of the insults traded between Milton and Chevy. This thing is just packed with brilliant performances. Honestly, I wish there was more focus on the core cast of the show, because the bits with some of the writers and crew members weren't as interesting as those with these larger-than-life personalities who are played so well. It's a shame that the Best Casting Oscar isn't being introduced until next year, because this would be a very deserving winner. Although on that note, I'm not surprised this hasn't been a massive awards player this year. It occupies a weird middle ground between prestige picture and SNL fan service. But that first act is very strong, and I still remained very entertained throughout. I'm sure a greater knowledge of SNL would have affected my judgment of it, and I do think it is worth being familiar with at least some of the actors being portrayed, but overall, I definitely had a good time with this one. And there you go. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye.